31 seconds, that's all Chelsea needed to create the fastest opening goal in Premier League history, a blistering start that set the tone for a completely dominant performance.
One, for what that is worth, absolutely nothing really with two new coaches and a man in form on here, 33 seconds into the season.
Yet just a few months ago, few could have imagined they would explode like this, considering this was still the chaotic team that had gone through 3 managers in less than a year. That instability dragged them to rock bottom as they finished last season with exactly 0 games in Europe, marking the first time in many years that the London Giants had been left out of European competition. It was from that seemingly hopeless pile of chaos that hope was finally ignited when Xabi Alonso arrived as a potential saviour, taking on the mission of rewriting Chelsea's entire story.
Xabi Alonso comes in, everything's changing. Everything's changing, bro. Everything's changing. This new Xabi Alonso is a new era, honestly. It's a fresh of breath air for the Chelsea fans.
Craven Cottage on Monday night marked Chelsea's explosive opening to the 26-27 Premier League season. It took just 31 seconds for the game to be blown wide open when João Pedro pounced on Cole Palmer's pass to open the scoring. This lightning-fast strike not only found the back of the net, but also officially shattered the club's record for the fastest opening goal in history, while becoming the earliest goal ever scored in a Premier League opening day match. The Blues' excitement was quickly met with a fierce response from the hosts. Fulham proved they were more than capable of competing, as they continued applying pressure and found an equaliser in the 23rd minute through Joshua King.
That's a good ball from Castagna. King!
Unwilling to settle for a draw, Chelsea immediately fought back to restore their lead. The second goal came as a statement of Morgan Rogers' value, with the expensive new signing, who had just arrived at Stamford Bridge for a record fee, scoring his first goal in a Blues shirt.
Lequoir hadn't played any pre-season until he started that Sociedad game, and he's up there now, and he's been found by Cole Palmer. Maxence Lequoir, nice chop, and the cutback! 2-1!
Chelsea's sensational performance was perfectly capped off by a moment of genius from their number 1 attacking threat. Cole Palmer officially brought an explosive day to a close with a piece of skill that silenced the entire Craven Cottage as he calmly nutmegged goalkeeper Bernd Leno as if he were playing FIFA on easy mode.
No flag yet. He's one-on-one with Berger and Cole Palmer's coming on the outside. Cole Palmer!
The thrilling 3-2 victory officially belonged to Chelsea, but this back-and-forth scoreline was actually the easiest part to understanding the entire dramatic story of the match. Continuing that insane script was a simultaneous explosion of the biggest names in the attack. Palmer, Pedro and Rogers, all 3 stars found their names on the scoresheet to create the most complete possible debut victory for manager Xabi Alonso. That overwhelming attacking explosion turned the match into an emotional story of resurrection. Cole Palmer had once bitterly been left out of Thomas Tuchel's squad for the World Cup this summer. However, that setback unintentionally became the perfect psychological springboard. On Sky Sports, Gary Neville suggested that being left out could sometimes turn out to be the best thing that had ever happened in Palmer's career. That reality was fully proven when close friend Morgan Rogers confidently declared after the match that Palmer was the best player on the pitch. Looking at that collection of stars, not everyone holds an entirely optimistic view. On Sky Sports, Arsenal legend Paul Merson instead expressed concerns about the stars stepping on each other's toes. All 3 have a tendency to want the ball. All 3 want to be at the centre of every attacking move, which makes him fear that the space could become far too crowded. In other words, it's a kitchen that's far too small but has too many great chefs all fighting to run it. In complete contrast to the dazzling brilliance up front, the last line of defence has become Chelsea's self-inflicted weakness. Both goals conceded against Fulham were marked by individual mistakes from Robert Sánchez, prompting ESPN to hand him a miserable 3 out of 10 rating. On Monday Night Football, Gary Neville worried that this weakness could ruin all of the team's efforts, while Jamie Carragher bluntly assessed that Chelsea would be almost incapable of winning the title if they continued to trust this goalkeeper. The disastrous performance was so bad that even Alan Smith had to exclaim in frustration, live on air, that Sanchez must immediately stop making the same repeated mistakes.
Alisson comes in for Liverpool, Liverpool win the league. Arsenal don't win the league if they have Ramsdale in goal, not Raya. Impossible. So one of the biggest reasons why Arsenal won the league last year was Raya. They wouldn't have won the league without him. You can go back through history. Every team who wins the league have got, I would say 99 times out of 100, the manager has made a big decision in terms of, right, I need to go and get my goalkeeper who can win me the league.
And I just think that back line of Chelsea's isn't perfect, but I think if they've got a goalkeeper behind them that's making them slightly more nervous, it's going to be a bigger problem and exacerbate it. And I'm saying this quite calmly because we're talking about a human being here, but the reality of it is Chelsea do need a goalkeeper, and it's one thing that I'm surprised that they've not dealt with in this transfer window, because it has been coming this for a couple of years. We've said goalkeeper, we've said centre-back, and we've said some experience down the spine, haven't we? And he's dealt with most things, but that's the last piece, I think.
The concern over the goalkeeping position becomes even more painful when looking back at a problem that has remained unsolved for years. Since the Blue Co Group took over Chelsea in 2022, the club has spent tens of millions of pounds in the transfer market, but has still been unable to find a truly reliable goalkeeper. That reality raises a major question for Xabi Alonso. Will the Spanish manager be willing to take a gamble and bring in a last-minute signing before the summer transfer window officially closes? Alongside the doubts surrounding the defence, the Spanish manager is still laying solid foundations for his tactical structure through a value that cannot be measured on the scoreboard: team spirit. From his very first interview with the club's media, Xabi Alonso insisted that good things would come if the entire team united as one.
Yes, I'm sure, and I have felt already that they want to have a good season. After last year, we were starting from zero in some new faces from the staff, from the manager, but they are really keen on whatever we are doing. We can't really tell that much. It's just 4 days with some players, but you see that the energy is good. The excitement is there, and we need to prepare well. We have time for that, and I said before, it's very important that we build the right mentality to compete. We build the right basics, essentials on daily basis to be ready for.
That philosophy was further developed during the summer tour of Australia and Asia, with the goal of building a strong team spirit through every day of training. That spirit is Chelsea's quiet advantage right now, as they possess a young squad that has yet to be influenced by too many big star egos. That mental stability becomes even more valuable when looking back at a turbulent year on the club's managerial bench. On January 1, 2026, Chelsea shocked the entire world by parting ways with Enzo Maresca on New Year's Day itself, a precedent that had never before appeared in Premier League history. The decision to leave was later acknowledged by Maresca himself as the stepping stone that took him straight to the hot seat at Manchester City, a bitter transition not unlike breaking up with your girlfriend and immediately dating your biggest rival. The heartbreak did not end there, as his successor Liam Rosenior quickly collapsed after just a few months in charge. The dizzying crisis saw the hot seat change hands continuously, making Xabi Alonso the 27th manager to lead Chelsea in the Premier League era in such a short period of time. The patience being shown to this 27th manager is beginning to point toward a more sustainable direction, forcing the club to look toward Arsenal's successful blueprint. Transfer journalist Ben Jacobs once revealed that Chelsea's own hierarchy views the patience Arsenal showed Mikel Arteta as the ideal model to follow. He stated that Arsenal's project only truly began bearing fruit after 5 years of persistent work, enduring periods of finishing 8th and then 5th before emerging as title contenders. If Chelsea can genuinely learn that valuable lesson, they will finally have a structured long-term roadmap for the first time in years, instead of the familiar habit of hitting the sack button every time turbulence arrives. Amid the bigger picture gradually falling into place, the biggest question mark over stability is once again centred on the uncertain future of Enzo Fernández. The hot seat at Manchester City, occupied by his former manager Enzo Maresca, is becoming a magnet for the Argentine midfield, especially with Man City ready to put a £120 million figure on the negotiating table. Despite the citizens having just ignored the deadline set by Stamford Bridge, the undercurrent has still not cooled down as the Etihad side accelerates negotiations ahead of the September 1 deadline in an attempt to bring the midfielder to Manchester.
$162 million transfer for Enzo Fernández.
Maresca played Enzo Fernández more than any other player at Chelsea. I don't think he's a direct replacement for Rodri. You could argue he's more of a replacement for Bernardo Silva, because I think he gets forward much more. I think it's a good fit. I can see that one happening, and I think Rodri will go, and I think he will go to City.
That would mean Rodri having to happen before tomorrow, because the deadline for Fernandez.
Yeah, but come on, this is posturing, isn't it? What, if they put in the bid 3 days later, they're going to turn it down? I don't think so.
There are suggestions that Chelsea have set a deadline of today for any bids for Enzo Fernández. I know you won't speak specifically about individual players, but do you anticipate having to do any transfer business today?
Not today, to be honest. I don't think we're going to do something today.
The factor that makes this deal even more ironic lies in the man pulling the strings behind it. None other than Enzo Maresca, Chelsea's former manager, who is now determined to lure his former player to the Etihad. That torn situation has pushed the relationship between Enzo Fernández and the fans to a boiling point, with him being booed by his own supporters during the recent match against Fulham.
Yeah, well, football is not so we have to accept these situations, but it's not, for me, it's not a big deal. Happy to play our first Premier League game of the season, my first official Premier League game with Chelsea. It felt great in this stadium with our fans at the end, and to celebrate with them. I think that I had the feeling before the kickoff that they were excited, they were hoping to see a good performance from the team, a serious one, one that they could see all the team gave everything to fight for it, and I saw happy faces at the end, so it's important to create this bond, and early days, first day, good one.
If Man City approves the asking price in these final days, Chelsea will find themselves in an extremely difficult position, facing a highly sensitive decision, accept the departure of their midfield centrepiece to a direct rival. The negotiations over selling a midfield centrepiece actually represent only a small part of Chelsea's massive spending spree in this summer's transfer window. The Stamford Bridge side has splashed nearly €380 million on a series of new signings, most notably the £117 million deal for Morgan Rogers, a new transfer record for an English player. After the spending spree, the focus of the club's hierarchy has now shifted toward clearing out the squad. Nicholas Jackson is almost certain to leave amid fierce competition from Aston Villa and Atletico Madrid, while Pedro Neto has also attracted interest from Al Hilal, Man City and Tottenham, with a price tag reaching as high as £100 million. On the other hand, the club has still managed to retain some important players, most notably by flatly rejecting Roma's loan offer for Jamie Gittins in order to keep him in London. Alongside the massive squad clearing campaign, the biggest surprise has come in the form of young talent Josh Akenpong. Just a few months ago, the defender was viewed as a backup option on the list of players to be sold in order to balance the finances. However, in the opening match against Fulham, Akenpong crushed all doubts by claiming a starting spot at right centre-back in Alonso's three-man defensive system, earning an extremely impressive rating. His transformation from a player destined to be sold into an indispensable figure in the new project is the clearest proof that football can change the entire landscape faster than a 4G connection. That very insane pace of change in football has inadvertently pushed Chelsea into a completely unprecedented situation. Total freedom from European competition. For the first time in years, the Blues will not appear in any continental competition, from the Champions League and Europa League to the Conference League. The door to the European stage was brutally slammed shut after a shocking defeat to Sunderland on the final match day of last season, bringing an incredibly chaotic campaign to a close. Yet this low point could completely become the most valuable gift for Xabi Alonso and his squad. While direct rivals such as Arsenal, Man City and Man United have to exhaust themselves with midweek travel, Chelsea now possess a huge advantage to pour all their resources into domestic competition. Getting rid of those physically draining Thursday night flights will allow the young stars to maintain their peak physical condition, turning a disadvantage into the perfect springboard for their Premier League campaign. That belief has been backed by Gary Neville, who, despite recently criticising the goalkeeping position relentlessly on Sky Sports, still insisted that Chelsea are capable of competing for second place in the Premier League this season. The basis for that optimism lies in a squad with impressive depth across all three lines. The attack brings together explosive names such as Palmer, Rodgers, João Pedro, Pedro Neto, along with the young talents Estevão and Giovanni Quenda. The midfield is controlled by Caicedo, Lavia, and potentially Enzo Fernández if the club successfully keeps hold of the midfielder. Meanwhile, the defence possesses a quality backbone featuring Reece James, Lacroix and Colwill. This is absolutely a squad with enough potential to dream of a top 4 finish, and perhaps even more, provided Xabi Alonso solves the goalkeeping problem once and for all. Enzo chooses to stay, and the attacking trio finds balance instead of stepping on each other's toes. The overall picture of Chelsea under Xabi Alonso therefore emerges with every contrasting shade. A brilliantly flourishing attack alongside a defence still shaken by mistakes. After one of the most turbulent periods in the club's history, this collection of some of the Premier League's most talented stars has finally found a foundation from which to begin its resurrection. With 100% focus on domestic competition, a manager committed to building a team culture, and an attacking trio capable of threatening every defence, every foundation for a rise has now been put in place. The potential of the Blues is no longer in doubt. The only question remaining now lies at the top. Will Stamford Bridge have enough patience to give this talented seed the time it needs to truly blossom? If you enjoy our video, don't forget to hit like to help this video reach to other football lovers, and hit the subscribe button to follow for more interesting videos about football stories. See you in the next video.